At the heart of a massive manufacturing company known for precision and speed, a crucial piece of equipment had shut down. Everything came to a stop. Employees stood around in silence, glancing toward each other, unsure of what to do. Maintenance had already taken a shot. No progress. Engineers were called. Still no solution. The factory manager paced back and forth with growing frustration, and the CEO had flown in personally, ready to rip into whoever was responsible for the delay. That's when a young man, wearing faded jeans, dusty boots, and a quiet expression, stepped forward from the edge of the group. His name was Callan. He had only started working there 2 weeks ago as a junior trainee. He wasn't hired because of a degree or fancy background. He had none of that. He came from a small farm far from the city and had barely spoken a word since his first day. Now, all eyes were on him. He cleared his throat and said, "I think I might be able to fix it." The manager looked him up and down with disbelief. "You?" he said with a smirk. "We have licensed engineers and certified technicians on this floor, and you think you can solve what they couldn't?" Callan didn't answer. He didn't seem offended either. He just stood there patiently, eyes steady, hands behind his back. One of the engineers shrugged. "Might as well let him try. Nothing else has worked." But the CEO shook his head. "This isn't a playground," he said coldly. "One wrong move and that equipment could be done for. That would cost us more than the delay already has." The tension in the room could be felt like a storm hanging over everyone. Callan didn't push. He simply stepped back into the group and folded his arms. 5 minutes passed. 10. 20. The machine remained silent. The head engineer turned to the CEO again. "Sir, permission to at least supervise him if he tries?" Reluctantly, the CEO nodded. "Fine. If this takes longer than 10 minutes, he's off the team permanently." Callan stepped forward, calm as ever. He didn't reach for the machine right away. Instead, he crouched beside it, looked underneath, and listened. He placed his hand on the side, tapped gently, then got up and asked for a flashlight and a wrench. He wasn't in a rush. He wasn't trying to prove anything. He just worked. 7 minutes later, the machine hummed back to life. Smooth, effortless, precise, like nothing had ever gone wrong. A stunned silence filled the factory floor. The CEO blinked twice, looked at the engineer, then at Callan. "What did you do?" "There was a loose contact hidden behind the intake valve," Callan replied quietly. "The wiring was vibrating just enough to disconnect when the machine heated up." The head engineer looked embarrassed. "I didn't even think to check there." "Neither did I," said the CEO, staring at Callan now with something between curiosity and discomfort. That night, the CEO called the factory manager into his office. "Where's he from?" he asked. The manager flipped through some papers. "Callan. He's from Eastbridge. Grew up on a small farm. Applied in person. No resume, no degree. Just said he'd be willing to work and learn." The CEO sat back. Something feels off. The way he handled that machine, those aren't things you pick up by watching a few videos or working 2 weeks on the floor. The manager shrugged. Maybe he's one of those self-taught prodigies. But something about Callan didn't sit right with the CEO. Not in a bad way, but in a curious way. He pulled up the employee file again. Sparse, no references, no previous employment, just a phone number and a local emergency contact. The next morning, Callan arrived early. He always did. While others rushed through the doors at 8:59, he was there by 7:30, sweeping the floor, checking inventory, keeping to himself. The CEO watched him from the observation room for a few minutes before coming down. You have a second? He asked. Callan nodded. Tell me, how did you know what was wrong with that machine? I've worked on a lot of engines before, Callan said. Not this kind, but the principles are similar. What kind of engines? Old farm equipment, generators. We had to make do with what we had. My father taught me. The CEO raised an eyebrow. Your father must be quite a mechanic. Callan hesitated just slightly. Yeah, he said. You could say that. You ever think about going to school? Getting certified? Callan smiled politely. We didn't have much growing up. Couldn't really afford things like that. I just learned what I could. The CEO nodded, then walked off. But something still nagged at him. Later that week, during a meeting, the board brought up a new investment plan. One of the investors had suggested bringing in a rural logistics firm to help with supply chain improvements. The CEO looked at the presentation slides and froze. There it was. The name of the firm, Eastbridge Technologies, a quiet company, but rapidly growing, specialized in agricultural automation, mechanical diagnostics, and AI-based machinery systems. The company's founder, Levon Dorsey. The CEO narrowed his eyes. Dorsey, he muttered. He flipped open his laptop, typed in the name, and scanned through the profile. Mechanical genius, inventor, investor, innovator, and native of Eastbridge. The next thing the CEO did was call the factory manager again. Callan, he asked. What's his last name? Dorsey. The CEO didn't say a word. He just stared at the manager, his face slowly changing. You didn't know? The manager asked. No, the CEO said. I didn't. But now he was starting to. The moment the CEO realized Callan's full identity, everything shifted. Levon Dorsey, the name wasn't just a coincidence. Levon was a well-known figure in the industry, the son of a farmer turned self-made pioneer in agricultural technology. His company, Eastbridge Technologies, had quietly revolutionized farming automation, transforming small farms into efficient, high-yield operations with cutting-edge machinery. The same ingenuity Callan showed with the factory machine had clearly been passed down. The CEO sat back in his chair, running through the implications. He had just unknowingly given the cold shoulder to a legacy. Next morning, the CEO made a decision. He asked the factory manager to bring Callan to the office. When Callan arrived, the atmosphere was different, more respectful, tinged with curiosity. Callan, the CEO started. I want to apologize. When you first offered to fix that machine, I doubted you. I judged you by your background. I underestimated your skills. Callan nodded, not surprised. I understand. It happens. No, the CEO said. It shouldn't. And I want to make it right. He paused and looked straight into Callan's eyes. We have a new project coming up. Something big, something that could change the entire factory's future. I want you to lead the technical team for it. Callan blinked. Me? Yes. You've shown you have the skills and the insight we need. Plus, I know who your father is. Your family's reputation speaks volumes. I want to bring that same spirit into this company. Callan's face remained calm, but inside, a surge of pride and disbelief swelled. From the dusty fields of Eastbridge to the heart of a major manufacturing empire, his journey was only just beginning. But it wasn't just about the job or the recognition. It was about respect, about being seen for who he truly was. Not the son of a farmer, but a man capable of great things. Over the next few weeks, Callan threw himself into the project. He worked alongside seasoned engineers and technicians, quickly gaining their respect through his deep understanding of machinery and his innovative ideas. The CEO kept a close eye on the progress, impressed by Callan's leadership and the energy he brought to the team. Yet, not everyone welcomed the change. A few senior engineers, threatened by the newcomer's rapid rise, began to whisper behind his back. They doubted his credentials and questioned the CEO's decision. Rumors started to swirl. Was Callan really qualified? Was he just a lucky farm boy who stumbled into success? Callan ignored the whispers. His focus remained unshaken. Then, one day, a major setback hit the project. A critical component malfunctioned during testing, causing delays and frustration. The doubters seized the moment to criticize Callan's leadership. The CEO called an urgent meeting. "We don't have time for mistakes like this," he said, his tone sharp. "Callan, explain what happened." Callan stood calmly. The component failed because the design didn't account for the vibration frequency generated during operation. I proposed a solution weeks ago, but it was dismissed. The room fell silent. Heads turned toward the engineers who had ignored Callan's warnings. The CEO's expression hardened. This company succeeds because of people who see what others don't. From now on, your ideas will be heard. The doubters had no choice but to step back. Callan's reputation soared. His team rallied behind him. The project moved forward, stronger than ever. Through it all, the CEO learned a valuable lesson. Talent isn't defined by where you come from, but by the determination to prove yourself and the courage to stand firm in the face of doubt. And as the factory roared back to life with the new machine running flawlessly, the CEO found himself humbled by the man he once doubted, a man who carried the spirit of a farmer but the mind of an innovator. But just as things seemed settled, a new challenge was about to surface, one that would test Callan's resolve like never before. Just when the project seemed to be on the right track, a sudden announcement shook the entire company. A rival firm, a multinational conglomerate with deep pockets and aggressive expansion plans, had acquired a controlling stake in one of the CEO's biggest suppliers. This move threatened to cut off key materials needed for Callan's project and potentially cripple the entire factory's operations. The CEO called an emergency meeting. "We need alternatives. Fast. Callan, can your team find a workaround?" Callan didn't hesitate. "We can, but it will require redesigning some of the components and sourcing new materials. It won't be easy, but it's possible." Over the next days, Callan threw himself into the challenge, rallying his team to brainstorm solutions. He coordinated with local suppliers and even reached out to contacts in Eastbridge. But the clock was ticking, and the pressure was immense. Meanwhile, the internal resistance hadn't vanished. Some senior engineers continued to question Callan's decisions, seeding doubts among the board members. They suggested that maybe the CEO had put too much faith in an inexperienced newcomer. One board member openly questioned the CEO in a private meeting. "Is Callan really the man for this? The stakes are too high to gamble on someone with no formal training." The CEO was firm. "Callan's work has already proven itself. We need to trust his judgment." But trust wasn't enough to stop the undercurrents of tension. Then, a surprise visitor arrived at the factory one afternoon. Levon Dorsey himself. The elder Dorsey was a man known for his sharp mind and unwavering integrity. He had heard about Callan's breakthrough and wanted to see firsthand what his son was accomplishing. Walking onto the factory floor, Levon's presence immediately commanded attention. Employees who had doubted Callan fell silent, sensing the significance. The CEO greeted him warmly but nervously. "Mr. Dorsey, it's an honor." Levon nodded, eyes scanning the equipment. "I hear you have my son leading the charge." Callan approached, shaking his father's hand. The connection between them was clear. Two generations linked by skill and determination. Levon studied the project, asked detailed questions, and offered insights that only a lifetime of experience could provide. He and Callan worked side by side, analyzing designs and troubleshooting issues. With Levin's support, Callan's team found innovative ways to adapt the machinery and source materials from alternative suppliers, overcoming the threat posed by the rival conglomerate. But the biggest test came when the project neared completion and the new machine was ready for its final trial run. The entire factory gathered, the tension palpable. The CEO stepped forward, addressing the crowd. This project represents more than just a machine. It represents what we can achieve when we value talent and determination over background or prejudice. Callan activated the machine. It roared to life, steady, powerful, flawless. The room erupted in applause. Levon smiled proudly at his son, and the CEO nodded in genuine admiration. The doubters were silenced, their whispers replaced by respect. But as the factory celebrated, a message arrived that no one saw coming. A legal notice threatening the company with a patent infringement lawsuit, filed by the rival conglomerate. The battle was far from over. The legal notice hit the CEO's desk like a bombshell. The rival conglomerate claimed that the new machine infringed on their patents, threatening to halt production and drain the company's resources in a costly legal battle. The CEO gathered the leadership team immediately. This isn't just about the machine anymore. It's about survival. We need a plan. Fast. Callan, though under immense pressure, remained composed. I reviewed the designs thoroughly before implementation. Our technology is original and based on different principles. I'm confident we can defend ourselves. Levon Dorsey offered his full support. Let me bring in my legal and technical teams. We have to fight this not just with lawyers, but with facts and evidence. The company assembled a formidable defense, diving deep into the technical details of the machine, documenting every innovation, every design choice. The rivals' claim began to unravel under scrutiny. Much of their patent was outdated, and the new machine incorporated fresh, patented technology developed independently by Callan's team. During the tense legal process, Callan's leadership and expertise earned respect beyond the factory walls. Industry insiders praised his innovation and the company's resilience. Weeks later, the court ruled in favor of the company. The rival conglomerate's lawsuit was dismissed, a clear victory that safeguarded the future of the project and the factory. The CEO called a company-wide meeting to announce the verdict. This victory belongs to everyone who believed in talent and determination. Callan's vision has not only saved this project but strengthened our company's future. Employees cheered, and Callan felt a profound sense of accomplishment. But the story didn't end there. With the project's success and the company's reputation restored, new opportunities poured in. Callan was promoted to oversee innovation across multiple factories. Levon's presence in the company deepened, forming a strategic partnership that blended farming technology with manufacturing expertise. The CEO, once skeptical, became a vocal advocate for recognizing talent wherever it comes from. Callan's journey, from a farmer's son fixing a broken machine to a respected leader and innovator, became a testament to the power of skill, humility, and perseverance. The lesson was clear. Judging someone by their background blinds you to their true potential. And sometimes, the greatest breakthroughs come from the most unexpected places.